Welcome to another episode of an intimate conversation with women of color. I am your host, Deneen L. Garrett, and today's guest is Naketa Ren Thigpen. She is the CEO, Balance and Relationship Advisor of Thig Pro Balance and Relationship Management Institute. She is on a mission to build stronger families that leave new multi-generational imprints, witness from the ripples of love, empathy, adventure, victory, and edification they create from their wholeness. Naketa, tell us more about you.
Oh, Deneen, I'm so excited to be here. So thank you. I'm honored to be sitting on the virtual couch for so many reasons. So a little context, my background and foundation of all that I am professionally is I'm a licensed clinical social worker, trauma specialist, psychotherapist, sexologist, and relationship expert before I became an entrepreneur. My husband and I started our company, which is Thig Pro Balance and Relationship Management Institute, a long mouthful. So most people just say Thig Pro to keep it short. 2011. So we're going on our 12-year anniversary. A little differentiator is he does not work in the business, as he likes to make it very clear and plain to see, but he is a shareholder and co-founder, and he supports me for favors in exchange for favors whenever I need them. So that's always helpful.
Yes.
So how we serve people now, our company is high level. It's a personal development company, and we serve power couples and potent humans. Our potent humans are like you. They are phenomenal visionaries, women entrepreneurs. Sometimes they, serve under the guise of lifestyle designer, coach, consultant. Actually, underneath all of it, they're healers. So that's what I see what you're doing is you're healing in your way through your gift, and having conversations with people who don't necessarily know that there's access to this healing reservoir that you provide for them. And what we're doing for all those people is helping them have some intentionally selfish focus time on themselves. So they're not just healing and pouring out, but leaving their own personal reservoir empty. And we amplify intimacy in all the ways possible.
I'm loving all of this, right? I am loving all of this. I need to run out and get me a mate. So, some of these things into practice.
Listen.
Hey, yes. And so, the power couples is something that I definitely want us to kind of talk around. Of course, this platform is for women of color. Well,
yes,
women of color, they make up a couple, and then things that we can do individually, because as you said, self-care is so important. We need to take care of ourselves first. But I want to talk about how you have revolutionized, healing trauma while balancing work and life and love. So let's start there.
Honestly, my secret is helping people balance boldly, is what we call it. That's the name of our podcast too, which goes right in line with all the things that you are serving people with. And I do that by helping them recalibrate and own their right to be intentionally selfish. So for us, we've redefined the word selfish so you can reclaim your power and not be stuck in what we'll say is conventional wisdom or the patriarchy, which told us that being selfish, choosing yourself first, taking care of what you need to make sure that your reservoir, your vessel is sealed, right? So nobody can extract any energy from you without consent. No one can add any toxicity to you without you being able to at least defend yourself. And a lot of the ways that we as women, especially, were raised is it was absolutely horrifically bad for you to do anything for you first. You must give, pour, scratch, starve, do all the things you need to do to help anyone around you, your siblings, your parents, your kids, if you have them, your business, your career. And the only time we were given permission to really take care of ourselves is if you were 2 seconds from having a breakdown on the bathroom floor, or worse, you already had the breakdown. Maybe it came up as a heart attack or a stroke or a seizure or some other kind of somatically induced repercussion to the stress that was happening and caused something really real in your body and led you in a hospital to have an IV in your arm. Then people would say, oh my goodness, Naketa, Deneen, you got to take some more time for yourself.
Right.
20 minutes before that, they were blowing up your phone. Hey, I need you. I need you. I need you to volunteer. I need you to come here. I need you to do this. Watch the kids, cover me, borrow money, right? Like all these things that people don't understand are not necessarily helpful because we're all caught in the same paradigm of give, give, give. And I had to take a break from it personally because I was giving until I went emotionally broke. And I was like, that's not serving anyone. At the end of the day, if you're the glue and the glue breaks apart and basically turns into dust, who are you actually serving? And that was honestly, transparently, my story. I was addicted to the stress of busyness and going and doing because the world validated me. My parents who had abandoned me and had their drug addiction and all their stuff. This was me being validated that I wouldn't become a statistic, right? Like all those expired expectations that we put on ourselves and other people put on us, it was causing a huge detriment to not only me as a human, but me as a woman, me as a leader, me as a survivor, me as someone who has a purpose on this earth. And I didn't want to continue that legacy, if you will, for my son, my daughter, my husband, my nieces, my nephews, let alone the people that I'm truly here to serve. So it honestly, selfishly started with me saving my own life in that way by reclaiming that spaciousness that I need, which for me, that's all being intentionally selfish is gifting yourself what I consider a personal, intimate gift to create your joy your way. But you can't do that if everyone and their mom is breastfeeding off of you at the same time. You got to snatch them titties back, right? Like, and say, I need some time to heal, right? So that's what I did. And now that's honestly how I help the couples be better is I give them the right, regardless of their gender, snatch them titties back, like heal, get the all the comfort that you need back from all the swelling and irritation and crackedness that was happening from everyone pulling at your teeth. And just relax a little bit, 10 minutes at a time. Have your own orgasm, know your own body before you make demands on someone else to know you better than you know yourself. So a lot of the work I'm doing is really honestly helping them be more selfish.
I love that. I mean, I am like feeling everything that you're saying. I'm sitting here, you're just having these thoughts, you know. And I like that you mentioned patriarchy because we struggle. So many people struggle with self-care, right?
Yeah.
It's huge. It's a huge thing. Like, who
Yeah.
would, you would think that taking care of yourself is a given, is natural, but it's not, right? And so in the why, and so the why, comes from the patriarchy. It comes from someone saying, no, you take care of me, you take care of everybody else, right? You're second, third, fourth, fifth, and it's been ingrained for years,
Yep.
years, the racial trauma, all of that. It's been ingrained, and so now we have to actually consciously, intentionally make a decision to take care of ourselves first, which is the most sane or thing to do. Like, it makes sense. Like, why wouldn't you? On the airplane, what do they tell you? Put your mask on first, because if you don't, you go and put somebody else's on, yours isn't, you fall out. You're in that type of situation. So now you're no good to yourself or anyone. So again, taking care of yourself should have always been such a natural thing, but we've been programmed against that. So, I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah.
We're now reclaiming, as you said, we're being aware, the awareness, and we're seeking the help and support from people like yourself to be selfish, like you said. And so many people look at selfish as a bad thing. It is not. You need to take care of yourself first, because and it's okay to like want to take care of other people and to take care of other people, because as you just said, you called me a healer. That's new. I like that, and I understand that. And you're right. And in order to do that, we have to be together first.
That's right. That's right. 1000%. I would say beyond people fighting me on the word balance, because that happens a lot. They're like, there's no such thing. It's integration. It's harmony.
Yeah, I'm an integration person.
Right. Which is fine. So you're perfect for this, right? So when I hear they're like, Naketa, there's no such thing as work-life balance, or I say work-life and love balance, right? Because love is my yummy space. I'm like, you're right. If you go by the 50-50, the 70-30, the 60-40, right? No relationship, not you and your parents, you and your nieces, nephews, siblings, frog, dog, everything in between, and definitely not in a romantic sense. There's no 50-50 relationship. There will never be any space where it will be even at all times. But that's not how I define balance. I see it as your truth over your boundaries. So if you are actively stating that the truth of what I want is to serve 1 million women entrepreneurs, just, picking out something that I kind of feel from what you're doing in the world, right? With these intimate conversations with LGBTQIA, women of color, and allies, right? If Deneen says, and Deneen did not tell me this, guys, I'm just kind of like hypothesizing. If she says, I want to help 1 million women entrepreneurs or women of color entrepreneurs, to be very specific. And I say, okay, great. That's your truth. That's what all the things you're doing from panel to podcast, right? I did my professional research, right? I
Yes,
did some
you did,
stalking.
girl.
I did some
Okay.
stalking, some professional stalking.
Yes.
But if that's where you say you're doing, then I would say, okay, let's set up some boundaries so you don't get distracted from your truth. So that way you stay full enough for you first, because that's important for the legacy you're creating, the philanthropy you want to do, all the altruistic things that you're doing in the world. It's important for you to be full enough to do that so that you can pour from your overflow into the selflessness that you're going to continue to do, because that's how we're all raised, hopefully, to be selfless. But we never get that fill yourself up first part. So we pour from resentment, exhaustion, overwhelmed, underpaid, underappreciated. Like that's where we pour from. And then we show up at the whatever, the birthday party, the divorce party, the wedding, like, oh my God, when is this over? Before we even pulled into the parking lot. Because we don't, we love the people. It's not about the people.
It's not.
But we don't have anything left for us to even show up. So we're giving the little bit we have. So I would say to this fictitious version of Deneen that I kind of made up, I would say, all right, what's your boundary around time for your personal habits so you can get some energy? And you would say, oh, well, I work out X number of times a week and I try to eat healthy. And I'm like, okay, are you peeing every couple of hours? Child, who got time for a bathroom break, right? Because we hear that a lot, especially from women. Like, I can't remember. I think it's been 12 hours since I went to the bathroom. And we're programmed to think that that's okay. I know my bladder took a hit after 40 when it was like all them years of not going when you was working in an emergency room in trauma. Come on now, like it's gonna catch up to you at some point. And now I'm inconvenienced because I felt inconvenienced now in my mid 40s because I felt in my 20s and 30s that I didn't have the right. It wasn't just time. I didn't have the right to take a bio break because this had to be done and that had to be done. And it's walking into the bathroom, somebody's calling my phone, Mom, I need you, right? Like, and you're like, okay, hold on. And so we do all of that. And then we suffer because of it. And our children and our nieces and our neighbors and our friends and our colleagues, they'll come visit us once a week. They'll send us some phone. They'll send us some soup. But who is taking over for all of the things that you can't get done because you weren't selfish enough at the time you needed? So my conversation with my fictitious Deneen, who's serving 1 million women of color entrepreneurs, would be, all right, we need some boundaries around your faith. When do you have time to receive whatever it is, whatever your faith is? If your faith is philanthropy, well, when do you have time to receive from yourself where you should pour your money? Versus being pulled on by whoever is the loudest caller saying, hey, Mr. Neen, I need this. And our nonprofit needs that. So where's your time? Is it 10 minutes to just sit and receive from yourself? Is it an hour on a Sunday or Saturday? Like whatever that is for you, you need a boundary around it. So it's non-negotiable. You need a boundary around your expectations. If your 22-year-old version of yourself is still making you feel bad because you didn't actually marry the doctor, right? Or you didn't become the doctor, but you decided to take, or maybe life helped you redirect in a different way, then you're still anchored to an expired expectation that's weighting you down and keeping you from inviting boundless expansion in, which you deserve. And that's why you're here. So we look at like these different, it's 5 specific zones, but we look at these different areas of boundaries and help people create that spaciousness around it. So those boundaries kind of become like the guardians over their estate, the estate of their truth, the estate of their healthy relationships, the estate of their wealth, their real wealth, not just money. Money matters. We love money.
Right.
But money's not the driver for most of us, right? Like money is just the thing that helps us do what we want to do a little easier.
Yeah.
And we need that, but we really value healthy relationships. We value freedom, like you're always talking about. Like, how are you living your dream? How are you living that out in real life? Move money aside for a moment. When's the last time you played? When's the last time you did something silly? Just got up and start dancing, shaking some maracas, shaking your maracas, like whatever works for you, right? Like, when's the last time you did that? And so some of the work that I do is really simple in that I'm helping people get curious again and create some adventure and some play, but it's not easy because we're all programmed to be validated by this. Oh, how many things can you pack into an hour, right? Like, and it's the spaciousness that I want to help people create so they can really hear their truth come up from all of that calcified chaos that's been buried on top of it because of life and other people's expectations.
Yeah, no, I mean that everything is a mouthful. And I was thinking of my mom, she wanted to play checkers, so she bought checkers to play on Christmas. And I think her and my son, they played maybe a couple games and that's it. She just wanted that play. And that is something that, we're probably, so many of us are probably missing, right? Because I'm up here thinking, okay, when's the last time I played? And, what did I do? And, and we do need more of that. And so those small little things, right?
Yeah.
Taking about, because I'm thinking, well, treadmill, well, that's not playing. That's really a form of exercise. The playing is kicking a ball, playing checkers, playing something, bowling, all of those things that are just fun that a lot of us are probably missing. So you've already talked a lot about how women of color can tap into their power and voice, but what would you say is maybe one main thing that if you would tell a woman, stop what you're doing and do this right now?
If I had to give one deep thing that literally can shake their entire paradigm,
yes,
it's awkward, it's uncomfortable. Sometimes you'll feel silly, sometimes you'll cry, sometimes you'll do all of the things. I would tell her to get a mirror. I'm picking up mine right now. My girlfriend created it. I don't know if you guys can see it, but get a mirror and look at yourself. Be about half an arm's length away so you can see just about chest up, and look in your eyes. Don't look at your skin, your beauty marks, your dimples. You're fabulous. This is not a vanity moment. I would look in your eyes and I would say something like, whatever your name is, but I'm going to use mine. Naketa Ren Thigpen. I love you. You are worthy of every good thing. I forgive you for everyone you hurt intentionally when you was being petty 25 and unintentionally when you just didn't know or you were ignorant or in your ego. I forgive you. I forgive you. I release you from the secrets, from the shame, from the guilt, the frustration, and the rage. For some of y'all, it might just be anger, but I had rage. I release you. And I love you more than life itself because you are worthy and deserving of every good thing. And I would go on. And for some women, just some version of that is like, oh, I can't do that. That's too, like, I can't. And I would say the reason that you can is exactly why you should.
yes.
You have to be uncomfortable with you. You have to feel the feels that so many of us, I feel specifically for women and extra for women of color. If there was a platinum Olympic medal that we could receive for compartmentalizing, we would all have it.
Right.
Because we are infamous for like, I ain't got time for that. I don't have time for these tears. I don't have time for this breakdown. I don't say, right. No matter what it is that we're feeling, if it is disrupting our momentum, we will push it down and then never come back to it. It's one of the gifts of it is some things you really don't have time. You know what? There's a baby on the floor with a broken elbow. Nope. You ain't got time to be sad and freeze up. get to that baby, do what needs to be done, go to the hospital, keep it moving. But come back to that feeling. What came up for you when you felt frozen? What came up for you when you felt anxious? What did it remind you of to not have control? Like, come back to it so it doesn't become this calcification that literally covers your purpose. A lot of us are looking for our purpose because it's buried under life. It's buried under it. Let's chip away. And you can chip away with play and with passions. Like, you know what? I'm looking at this beautiful plant that's behind you. I can't keep plants alive. Let me try with a baby one. Like, let me just see what I could do. And I'll do my research. What's the sturdiest plant out there that I can keep on the East Coast, right? With my amount of sun or whatever. But let me try being a plant auntie for a minute. Maybe I'm not ready to be a plant mom. Let me be an auntie for a second. Let me reach out to a nephew or niece that is probably a teenager that associates me with money and a card because I've never been the proximity aunt that, like just having them come over. Let me do something different and reach out and say, you know what, little Johnny, little Jill, how about we get together and you guys can just tell me all the ways that you feel like you're not being heard. Do something different. It doesn't have to be super deep, but something that gets you out of your mundane. You could do it with your eyes closed, even the 55 hats that you're wearing, because you've been doing the same thing repetitively to avoid listening to what's been trying to come up. That's what I would say.
Yeah, well, that's definitely powerful. So, I look at that mirror talk. I was doing it while you were talking, and let me tell you, I put the phone down. It was, my head was starting to like, oh, so it's a beautiful thing for us to do, and it's a hard thing for us to do.
It is.
To sit with ourselves, to talk to ourselves, to even think of the things to say to ourselves, right? Like, I don't know, I'm sure this is not for you. You don't have to deal with this, but for me, even if I'm in a mirror, I'm not necessarily looking at myself. So when I'm brushing my teeth or whatever, I'm not necessarily looking at myself, right? I'm not. I'm just going about the business. So to do this exercise, it is definitely one is going to bring things up.
Yes.
It's going to make you feel a certain way, but like Naketa said, keep with it. Keep going and do more and more each day to whereas it's just natural.
Oh, Deneen, you hit on something so strong. It would be, if I was a different person, I would have been embarrassed. But because I'm so used to being awkward, it was just another awkward moment that I learned a lesson from. So back in, I don't know, 2013, 2014, I was running my first version of an incubator. I don't even think I called it an incubator, but that's basically what it was. And it was called Mogul Minded, right? Like me and my alliterations, like I was so excited about this. And it was just a handful, I think it was 4 women, not including me, that were meeting up way pre-COVID. So before we had to use Zoom, so I think we were using Skype back then. And we would meet and go over like specific things to help them elevate their business. Lessons learned that I had only been in business for 2 years, but lost a ton of money, learned a ton of lessons, and was like, let me help people not do what I did and find better ways to do this, because ultimately my mission never changed. I wanted to build stronger families. That has always been the mission that we had, even though our pathway to doing it was a little different. And in this conversation, in one of our sessions, somehow or another, and it was in the early check-in, like we hadn't even gotten into session, I said something like, oh, I don't look at myself in the mirror. And one of the women, Natalie Fikes, awesome, calling you out, Natalie. She's amazing. Super powerful Black woman. She said, excuse me, can we not skip past that for a second? Did you just say you don't look at yourself in the mirror? And so maybe it was like 2015-ish or so, because I had got diagnosed with a rare autoimmune in 2014. And I hadn't really truly looked at myself since my diagnosis, because I had gained all this weight. Everything was changing, right? Like there was just like all these systemic issues. And I wasn't purposefully not looking in the mirror. I just stopped looking in the mirror. To your point, brushing my teeth, I'm just like, brush, make sure there's nothing on my mouth, rinse, go. But I'm not actually looking in the mirror. And back then, I think the only thing that I pretty much still wear is lipstick. So you're not really looking at your face, right? Like you're looking at your lips, making sure it doesn't bleed out of your natural line. I didn't even wear lip pencil and kept it moving. And she said, Naketa, do you understand how powerful you are? And we got into a whole thing. This woman started ministering to me. Okay. Now, mind you, she's my client on this. We're actually colleagues and friends now and all of it. But at the time, this was the relationship was different. And I was like, well, yeah, like, don't get me wrong, Natalie. I know I'm sexy. I'm, right. Like in my mind, I'm like, I've never
you know that.
consciously denied that of myself. But there was a subconscious thing, which 95% of our actions are led by our subconscious. Subconsciously, me not looking in the mirror because I had already said to myself, well, until they figure out my metabolism, until they figure out this, until they, right, like all of the medical stuff, it's whatever. And she was like, that shows up in your work. Now, we wouldn't have known if you didn't tell us, but that's a very powerful thing that's disrupting. And, she went on and like really ministered to me. Then the other women started ministering to me. So, well, I'm about to pay y'all because this whole session, then flipped around. And it was an amazing, amazing reverse session that forced me to look at what I wasn't dealing with. I had already been in therapy. I had already had coaches. Right? Like I had spiritual counselors. I had my bishop. I had my pastor. It wasn't about someone not doing the work who was being like a wounded healer. I was doing so much of the other work that I never looked at something right on the surface that was in the way because I was busying myself to not have to deal with it. Stay busy, keep helping others. I wasn't selfish yet. I wasn't. And it was showing up. It was being reflected in my outcomes. I'm helping other people go from 20% of themselves to 60% of themselves. Big jump. But that's because I was only using 10% of me. Imagine what would have happened if I was using 100% of me, if I had been filled up enough to do it. Those people could have made leaps and bounds so much faster and didn't have to take as many years to do it. And I held myself accountable for that. Like, this wasn't you not doing good work. This was you taking good as a bare minimum and being okay with it because you were too exhausted to do even more, which is why I became an entrepreneur in the first place. I didn't want to just do the bare minimum, right? So, yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. More mirror talk, right?
Every day for the last 8 years, it's been amazing for me. Every day.
I'm going to pivot a bit. I honor my late sister, author and poet Soul True by asking about Dreams Deferred, which is the title of one of her books. Please share a Dreams Deferred moment.
Woo, how much time we got? Okay. Dreams Deferred moment. So when I was younger, my grandmother, who was a nurse, used to catch me like reading all these like social science books, psychology, anthropology, sociology, all this stuff. And I guess she understood really early that that was the lane. I didn't know, but that was the lane that I was going down. And she would say things like, you can't do that. You're not going to make any money. Don't do that. I was like, what are you talking about? I wasn't even interested, right? Like in my mind, as a little child, I'm gonna be a pediatrician with a psychology office practice on the side of my house. Because I was like very serious about that. But I had no connection to any of the things other than it was very interesting. I loved human behavior from a really early age, and I just didn't understand why. I do understand now, and I was trying to figure out my dysfunctional family, but I didn't understand that at such a young age. And so I started to push a lot of the things that I was interested across the board down because I felt like I was being judged. I was like, I'm being judged for all the things. One of the secret things, secret is a strong word, but it was very private, that I really loved was interior design. I loved just aesthetic intimacy. Like I love to make things beautiful and pretty, maybe in my own way that might be seen different from other people. And so I didn't do it. I went to school thinking, well, I have to go to be, I was in a med student at Drexel University. And I was triple major in psychology, sociology, and anthropology, because I was like, I need to at least be interested in the major, even though I'm a pre-med student. And I did all the things, found out very fast that I hated the med part of all of it, because organic chemistry was like, nope, you're done with this. But I stayed on the other track. And when I finished school and I got my master's and I did all the things, I kept feeling like I want more color in my life. I really think that I want to do interior design, but I felt like it was too little too late because I was older. I'm a wife. I got multiple kids. I've taken in my brother who we took custody of, who's a teenager. So that was a nightmare, like all the things that went with that. And I kept thinking my life would be so different if I was an interior designer on like HGTV, right? Like in my mind, like that's where I would be.
Yeah.
So I enrolled in Moore College of Art in Philadelphia, and I got accepted for their interior design program.
Nice.
And I was going, and I already had my master's as a clinician. I was already licensed. And at this point, I said, okay, this is what I'm going to do. But I'm a nerd, Deneen. So I don't ever do anything halfway. So I did informational interviews with designers. Like, well, what was the process like for you especially Black designers when you got out? Like, what did that look like for you? What was your competition? What was your money? Because listen, I'm already a social worker, not making no money, right? Like I'm already $1 more than the people that I can help get the resources that I can't get because I make $1 more. So like, what was that look like? And they started talking about coming in at back then, which is still a small amount of money, $35,000, which was less than I made as a social worker. And I was like, so I got to take on another $80,000 in school loans and all the things to make less than what I make now and hope that I can compete with these other well-known designers to get, access to high-level client lists. And that made me realize I'm not driven by money, but money matters to me. So I can't make that mistake for my family. And that was a dream that was deferred for me. Because if I would have stayed the track when I was younger and just did design, I'm sure I would have ended up where I am right now because I believe in destiny and purpose. But it would have been a very colorful route here versus one that was stuffed inside of statistics and methodology books and all the things that I hated when I was in school.
Okay, very nice. Very nice. So let's kind of end here with a dream lifestyle. So what does this mean to you?
Mm-hmm.
And how are you living a dream life?
Honestly, I have to say I live it now, just the way it is. I have access to my grandbabies who are just turned as of Saturday 4 and going on 5 next Saturday coming up.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. My youngest grandson has a severe form of sickle cell disease and has been in the hospital more than he's been out at his young age. And both of my grandbabies have autism, and I appreciate their brilliant perspective of the world and how they get to look at it. But I extra appreciate being available for them. Every summer, our whole company takes a sabbatical that we call self-lovecation for 6 weeks. No one works except there is a rotating of someone checking the admin box once a week just to make sure there's no fires. And at the end of the year, we take another 18 to 21 day winter solstice holiday. That's been a staple since 2014, 2015. That we've been consistent and not using it as pretend vacation where you're really working 18-hour days, but you're just not available to clients. Because
Right.
that was the first couple of years, to be fully transparent. We would be off, but none of us were really off. And every 4th week of every single month, I call it Amplify Intimacy Week. That I get to do this. I get to love on other people who love on me, have beautiful conversations. Some are taped, some are not taped, but it's not traditional work because it frees me up for me to receive. So this is my dream lifestyle.
Love it. And so one final thing, what would you like to leave the audience with?
If I could leave you with anything today, thinking about the spirits that are listening to this and all of the wackiness that's going through your mind, the busyness, the need for validation from yourself, from your younger self, from your parents, living or dead, all the things that are coming up for you. If I could give you anything, it would be to honor yourself for where you are and create some spaciousness. If there's anything that you can change or add, it would be to really look at how you power up in the morning and how you power down. Because those bookmarks, those bookends, if you will, of your day really are not only anchors to hold you accountable to your truth, whatever that T is over your B, but it also allows you to have space for you. So you're not starting the day focused on other people. You're starting with yourself and you're ending with a reminder that you are valuable and you're valuable enough to have space at the end of your day too. it might be 10 minutes. I'm voting for you to have 90 minutes at top and bottom. That's the goal. 90 minutes to 2 hours at the top, and somewhere between 30 minutes and 90 minutes at the bottom. But even if you only start with 10 minutes, it changes your life when you choose yourself first.
Naketa Ren Thigpen, thank you so much for sharing and lending your voice to an intimate conversation with women of color, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.